The Sony IER-Z1R is known to be the top-of-the-line IEM that Sony can provide from them to you as the consumer. So why is this thing so expensive, and does the price justify for it? Let's actually talk about it. Now, in terms of the IER-Z1R, I have already written a blog review on it. You guys can check it out in the link description below. For this video, there's going to be one little comment, actually a lot of little comments that add up gradually regarding this IEM after I've tested it a few more times. But as with the format of my videos, we shall always start with unboxing. To be fair, my friend technically lost a pair of cables, so the IER-Z1R costs 1.7k US dollars. Definitely something that not any normal person nor any sane person would actually want to buy this. The moment that I started my audiophile journey, that probably sounds very weird for me to say that, it sounds so obnoxious, but ever since I started my audiophile journey, my friend has been saying to me about the Z1R since forever. And in terms of paying for this premium, you are definitely getting your money's worth depending on how much you want to see it. This is the box. It looks like a jewelry box. Opening this up, you are definitely being treated like a king because you are paying nearly 2k US dollars for this. Definitely they want to one up their game. From the moment you got your box, they want to let you know, hey, you got your money's worth, man. Not only you are listening to the best thing that we can deliver, we are also giving you the best experience that we can give to you when you are receiving our products. Opening this up, you are definitely being greeted with their hard case, and inside you will find their head shells, which haha is missing. It's there. I don't want to do this anymore. The trays underneath here houses all of the accessories that comes with it. If you're literally unboxing other stuff, you're definitely gonna get the typical iPhone type of box, the typical phone unboxing type of vibe. This thing is really catered to you in a way where it feels like, wow, you're buying jewelry. Opening it up, you will be getting two trays of cables. One is the balanced output one, and the other is the unbalanced 3.5, which my friend said that he cannot find it back for the sake of this video. And for the last tray, other than the paperwork inside here, which I will not open, you will be having two sets of tips, which again my friend has probably taken it all. One thing I like about this set, but at the same time I also want to gripe about it, is for the fact that, you know, you can make so many sizes of tips, but then again it only applies when you're buying top of the line. Imagine like if you fit a size L a little bit too tight, but you fit a size M a little bit too loose, why not have ML? Is it called ML? Yeah, it's called ML. But yeah, this is basically the unboxing experience. Go watch Joshua Valur's unboxing experience because I definitely did not deliver, and I'm too tired to film this again. It has been 1.5 hours prior to this trying to film this. Now, let's talk about the build. So the build of this IEM definitely is a very hefty build. It is made fully metal, said to be zirconium alloy, and it weighs 12.7 grams per hip piece. Other than visually saying that it is made of metal, the thing with a hefty IEM is that the fit might be a little bit problematic. But for this particular pair, the fitting, owing to the build again, might be a little bit problematic due to the fact that it has a long-ish nozzle, and the way that Sony intends you to wear this is for the sake of its driver configuration. This thing has a tri-Brit configuration where one of its dynamic drivers is a super tweeter. And how do you want to fully get that experience? Shove this into your ear canal as far as possible, which contributes to the fitment issue. Not to say that it doesn't create a seal, but the thing is that if you wear this, it's going to be uncomfortable and you need some getting used to it. Again, because of this head shell being very heavy, and like I said, you need to shove this into your ears. The thing is, even though it is seem to be ergonomically done well, most of the weight is probably just going to be inside of your ear canals. And not to mention the stock cable really doesn't help in terms of the ear hook. I'll just show a clip of Josh Valur's video right here, him explaining that the ear hooks literally just go past your ear. It is the same situation for me, and because of this, my friend has decided to go for third-party cables, which alleviate a bit of that stress, a little bit of that weight. Sadly, it does not. Now, don't get me wrong, this thing definitely fits into your ear, but I've seen a lot of mixed reactions, a lot of mixed reviews throughout the internet. Some people say it fits very, very poorly. Some people say it fits snugly and it even dissipates the weight perfectly. Me, I feel like the majority of the weight is in my ear canals, and I can only wear it for a maximum of 2 hours before it starts to actually get uncomfortable, because it definitely is like pulling my ear canals down due to the sheer weight of it. But with all that aside, let's finally talk about what you all are coming for. How does it sound? Now, back then, this was definitely how I tested my stuff. These are my sources, how I hooked all of them up. But that was before I have the M15. Because after having the M15, I can finally understand why some people say that this is a little bit of a sibilant type of IEM. I was considered to be very lucky to have the SMS or SH6 because this thing complements this in a very specific way where it tones down all of the sibilants to the point where I don't really know what anyone is saying. I said I was gonna address it just now, but I think I'm just gonna say it here first. If you are using such an expensive pair of IEMs, source is important. Before you get into anything, please know that you have invested at least a little bit of an amount in amplifiers or DACs, and know and even test it out just to know that which thing complements to which. Because after getting the Z1Rs, I had the chance to actually test out the Annihilators a month after at an audio convention show. Other than that, I also got the chance to test the Elysian X, which is discontinued, but the owner, Lee, was there. He graciously gave us the chance to actually test it out, and oh boy, that thing is so amazing, let me tell you that. But after going to the audio convention show, I've tested out a lot of things: the top of the line Vision ears, the TIA Audio Monarch Mark IIs, the Sennheiser IE600, the 900s, and even all the QDCs, the QDC Anole V6, the QDC VX, all of those. Once I've tested out all the TOTLs, I realized one thing: every single IEM within the top of the line range caters to a very specific niche. Whether you like that type of sound signature, whether you like this type of sound signature, it definitely depends on your song preference. Hence, my insight of that is even more clear. Just because this thing is very expensive, just because I thought it was literally the best of its kind, doesn't really mean that it really is. My horizons was not that broadened back then, prior to the audio show. After that, I have a better insight, and now I'm going to talk a little bit more transparently instead of just, keep telling you that this thing is the best thing ever alive. But also, going back to one thing that I would like to say with amplifiers and DACs is that other than the fact that for such expensive IEMs you definitely need a powerful source, that is already a given. The thing is that a lot of DACs and amps sound differently. You can see, again, I'll use Joshua Valera's one video regarding the A90 and A90D. He said that he can differentiate which amp is which, even though it is just an amp. Personally, I think finding the correct source is very important because the owner of this, my friend, he has recently gotten the Cayenne RU6, and that thing sounds great on the Z1R rather than the Questal M15, which is something that is very analytical. That's why I will probably say that before you invest in something like this, please know that your amplifiers, your DACs, does it complement with the things that you want to buy. If you're buying something that's so-called cheap compared to this, like maybe within the $250 range, all of those are fine. It won't probably have that much of an impact, but definitely if you're buying something as expensive as this, definitely take a look. Definitely test everything out to the point where you're confident to what you're listening to with your personal preference of a DAC or your personal preference of an amp. Only then you purchase it. That's just my 2 cents. Now, with all that out of the way, and I have a new way to listen to this, I shall be telling you the review of the sound of the IEMs with regards to the M15 rather than the SMSL SJ6. Technicalities is something that I think is very important to talk about in an IEM of this caliber. Other than looking at the graph, I'll show you right now. I totally forgot to show the graph. It's a mild V-shaped IEM. It has a slight warmish characteristic to it due to the nature of the bass of Sony. But then again, if you're listening to something this high of a caliber, it's totally in a different league. I have the XBA-H3s, and this thing right here sounds amazing. This is said to be the predecessor of the Z1Rs, and in terms of the price jump, I can definitely see why. Because this thing, even though it is already very, very amazing, this thing just triumphs it in more more ways than one. After I got the Kato, which like I said in my previous video, I really like the relaxed feeling of it. But that is a more of a V-shaped Harman type IEM. This is more balanced at that. This thing definitely is a step up from the Kato in terms of how transparent everything is, in terms of its detail retrieval, its resolution, its dynamics, its soundstage. When I listened to the XP83s for the first time, it was my first experience of what is called an actual wide soundstage. But after listening to the Z1Rs, this thing just sounds decent. Soundstage on the Z1R is definitely as wide as it can be, only to lose a little bit to the Elysian Annihilators and even more so by a significant margin on the Elysian X. Detail retrieval on this pair, I would say, if the Z1R is a 10 out of 10, this thing is about a 7.5 to an 8 out of 10. Detail retrieval on this is definitely something that is done in a very, very immaculate way, where every little detail, every nuance of every single thing that the artist is doing, it speaks for himself. Guitars, when you are plucking guitars, you'll definitely use your fingernails and you can hear the very slight graze of a fingernail through a steel string. You can hear the slight taps on the piano keys as the pianist is fingering the keys. That is what I was referring to in terms of micro detail. Everything is so amazing that when I first got the Z1Rs back then, and still to this day, when I have a chance to borrow it from my friend, I will borrow it just to re-listen to certain albums, because this pair definitely brings out a certain type of detail that not every pair can do. Other than that, imaging separation, I think it speaks for itself. With such a wide soundstage, it images every single nuance of everything in a very, very nice manner, in a very amazing manner. And in terms of the separation, due to the fact of its already wide soundstage, this thing separates a lot of things. It layers up a lot of things in a way where I feel like instead of like actually listening to a song, it feels like you're actually at a live concert. Every single instrument, like from the pianos to the guitars to the drums to the vocal ensembles, the choir ensembles, everything is being laid out to you like a concert. Bass is something, like I said, it has Sony in-house type of vibes, but this is where it gets a little bit different. This thing right here has a lower bass shelf because it is more balanced, but it increases the presence of the bass throughout its frequency, which is what I like. The Z1Rs, it also has that presence thing, but it has a higher bass shelf. But besides that greater amount of bass, it does not bleed. Everything is done very, very perfectly in terms of how it presents itself. Sub bass, I think, is probably the best out of everything. It has a very, very smooth rumble that you have never heard before. It is clear, it is rumbly, but it is clear for some reason. I don't really know how to describe it. Lower bass, mid bass, everything is full of body. The kick drums are boomy and airy at the same time. It has very, very quick decay. It sounds very natural. Bass notes paired up with the technicality definitely amplifies everything that a bassist is playing. I don't really have anything else to say because this thing is actually quite good in terms of the bass. And in terms of the mids, this is where maybe I might deviate a little bit from my original blog review. Using the M15 instead of using the SH6, this is when I finally understand why some people say this is a little bit sibilant. Male vocals, I don't really have anything else to say other than they're crisp, clear. Everything is very, very smooth, very resolving. It has a lot of clarity. There's no nasally voice. There's no sense of hollowness. There's no thinness. Female vocals, however, are again bright and clear, but definitely has an edginess to it. It is a little bit sharp. The S's, the X's definitely sound a little bit harsh like a blade. But specifically, this again pairs down to the source. If you're listening to something like of an MP3 bitrate, it does not have that sense of sibilance. And me, I listen to high res and lossless and FLAC, and hence it has some form of sibilance. So that's one thing to take note of. Instruments from the mids and the highs, like I mentioned just now regarding the macro details and the micro details, everything is being presented in a way where it is complemented with the most specific and most subtle nuances that you never even heard of in a track that you have listened to for the past 100 times when you're using something that is cheaper than a Z1R. Things can sound light, things can sound heavy, things can sound aggressive. Every single emotion that the instrument player is trying to evoke can be heard very, very clearly through the music, and that is probably the best way that I can describe listening to instruments, listening to instrumentals in the Z1R. Anything from FKJ to Tony Anderson's New It album, the tracks from these two artists are currently what I use to test out the prowess of an IEM's micro detail retrieval, and certainly this thing delivers it. But there's probably one thing that I never said because I use the SMS as SH6. Now that I have the M15, one thing that I find a little bit annoying is the drums. The drums are a little bit too peaky. Cymbals, ride crashes, and the hi-hats, it sounds a little bit too harsh. It sounds like a firework. It's blazing as people are literally hitting on the hi-hats as fast as possible in certain tracks. But that is probably the only thing that I have a problem with the Z1R when listening to it as it is, through a very transparent DAC. Treble is still so well controlled. You have very amazing treble extension if you decided to lose your ear's virginity. Micro and macro details in this area is definitely in its own league. Like again, when I say you can hear the emotions of a pianist, you can hear the slight fingernail tick on the piano key. To me, that sound, that nuance of a detail is very important. Just to let you know, the player, the pianist is actually having an emotional crisis right now while he's playing the song. What am I saying? But yeah, the IER-Z1R definitely is something that is very special, something that you should probably test out. But should you buy it? It's based on your preference, to be honest. I wouldn't say yes, I wouldn't say no, because definitely there are gonna be a lot of hardcore fans of the IER-Z1R. Me personally, the first time that I've heard something that is this top of the line, and again, let me remind you, when I heard this, I was never exposed to any other top of the line IEMs, with this being the most expensive back then. This was my grail, and now, not so much. It's more of an experience, it's more of an exquisite taste, like maybe a type of coffee bean that I would like, rather than this is gonna be what I'm going to use for the rest of my life. And with this, I think I should probably wrap up this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.